Please tell me we're in focus. Okay guys, here's the deal. Instagram ads have been targeting me really hard because I'm this close to just going online and purchasing this top, but then, you know, naturally the creative me takes over and is like, you could just crochet that yourself. You could spend several weeks and hours and countless money on yarn trying to make it instead of just going online and buying it for like $40. And that's the thing is I can't get myself to buy it because I think it would be a lot more fun to make. This style of t-shirt or blouse is starting to trend lately, and I think it's kind of going to be something that people are wearing all the way into fall and even winter. So I want to take a stab at it and see if I can recreate it. If you guys know anything about me, I love me an off-shoulder top. So that's what we're gonna try to like accomplish in today's video. Jordan's watching me through the front door. That's hilarious. So I purposely dyed up 2 hanks of my Hopeless Romantic colorway. This is on my bamboo sock blend. So it's like 80% superwash, 20% bamboo. And because it's still like late summer, about to turn into fall, I say as I like bite my tongue. Hopefully this is gonna be really lightweight and breathable even as we start to like transition into fall. So what I'm thinking to do with this top is I want to start off with a really basic like ribbed band, and then once we kind of have the circumference of the waist, I can start adding additional rows on top, and hopefully adding like some increases will make it kind of like baggy so it's not super fitted. The only fitted part would really be the ribbed band. Initially I was kind of thinking of doing like a sleeveless version so that I can kind of just make it quick and I can throw it off the shoulder, but now that I'm also seeing more ads of like the long sleeve tops, I feel very heavily inclined to also make a long sleeve version. So let's see how far into this process I get. Okay, I hope this camera isn't crooked. I'm filming on the Insta today. I didn't really get to film too much because it's kind of a very repetitive piece at the moment, but I've just been working on like the belly band, and I think I'm pretty close to finishing this portion, so I wanted to show you guys what it's looking like. I've just been working with back loop only double crochets. I think I've made it wide enough to wrap around. I don't really want to like overstretch it, but I'm thinking about possibly adding some elastic on the inside so that it kind of keeps its shape, because I really don't want this to get stretched out. I think it's just wide enough. I might have to add like 1 or 2 more rows, but we're so close. And then my next step is going to be to seam the 2 edges together, and then I can start working on the bodice portion, which is going to be a lot of fun. Instead of double stranding with the yarn, I'm going to switch back to single strands. And then what I really want to do, I want to start to add a few rows of increases so that it slowly flares out. And as I was kind of talking about earlier, I want this to have more of like that slouchy bust fit, so kind of like oversized. So I think the trick is going to be working the increases in a way that I like it. So I already decided to take a little bit of a hiatus from working on the slouchy top, and in the meantime I have started a new project. And yes, this is a front panel on a sweater. I'm already starting the sweater projects. A little bit early this year. This yarn has been calling my name and I really wanted to see what it looked like worked up. So this is what I have so far, but I wanted to take a moment to thank Creative Crochet Corner for sponsoring today's video. And if you're a crocheter like me, or you're interested in learning how to crochet, then this is the perfect opportunity for you. From beginner to advanced, Creative Crochet Corner is the go-to online resource where you can learn new skills and discover inspiring projects. They offer instructional videos on basic and decorative stitches, lace, cables, and even Tunisian crochet, just to name a few. What makes Creative Crochet Corner stand out for me is their accessibility, with step-by-step videos, full projects, and downloadable PDF guides. Heading into fall, I told myself I really wanted to learn how to crochet cables, and the video How to Work a 2x2 Cable in Turn Rows was the perfect resource. Not only is there a step-by-step video, but they've also provided a chart of the pattern for download, as well as having the written pattern. And if you're interested in joining the community, they provided us with an unbeatable offer. The first 1,000 of my subscribers to click the link in the description will get a full year of premium membership for only $1.49. Think about all of the patterns and videos that you'll have access to over the course of an entire year. You're definitely going to want to take up that offer. today's like another perfect summer day, so I figured I'd come sit out on the porch and get a little bit more progress done on the tight slouchy top. I'll be honest, I'm not quite sure how I'm feeling so far about the increases. Maybe I should throw this on and we can kind of get like a better idea. So if I pull this down to like my waist area, this is how the top is kind of like flaring out. You can see that it's a good amount of increases, and I'll be honest, I feel like it might be too much. I definitely might have overcalculated just how much I need to increase by, so I think I might pull the trigger and just like take out a few of the rows and then like reassess. Kind of what I'm working with, and I'm not a big fan of it so far. So I think I might pull back a few of the rows and start over again. Okay, I've been working on this top for a while, so I feel like I should show you guys how much work I've gotten done. This is kind of like the general shape that the top is taking so far. I have already frogged this portion 3 times because I'm trying really hard to get the shaping of the bodice portion right. I feel like I just have this really specific vision in my head of the shape it's supposed to take, where it's a little bit more fitted at the waist, and then slowly, like as we reach the underarms and the bust area, it fans and it flares out quite a dramatic amount. So I ended up deciding on this kind of shaping where there's not too many increases towards like the first few rows, but because I have a pretty short torso, as I'm starting to approach like my underarm area where I'm getting ready to split for my sleeves, I am increasing quite dramatically. Like you can really see the flare in the top. Yeah, and hopefully after a few more rows we can start working on like the front and the back panel. But I do like how this is coming together so far. I love how using this fingering weight yarn or sock weight with a 5mm makes it very, very drapey. Like you can see just how much movement is in the top. And I like that it's not super stiff, it's just more flowy. But I figured I would pop this on, do a last minute try on just to make sure everything's looking how I want it to, because I feel like I'm getting really close to having to split for sleeves. All right, moment of truth. This looks a little bit silly, but I have the ribbed belly band, which I feel like fits me just perfectly. And this is what the bodice rows are looking like. It's kind of hard to envision it just because it's a little bit floppy. So what I'm going to do in order to split for sleeves is, instead of continuously working in the round and like turning my work like that, I'm just going to work halfways, like across the front, do my best to kind of like split the stitches in half, and then just work back and forth. And then when it comes time for the back panel, I can work along the back side and just go back and forth like that. So that's kind of like my initial plan. Let's see if I end up sticking to it. Okay, we have an exciting update because over the last few days I was able to get a good amount of this top done. So I thought I would come on camera and just kind of show you guys what I have so far. Here is the top. As you can see, I think it's finally starting to take its shape. For a while there, it was kind of like touch and go. I wasn't sure if it was going to come out how I was predicting, but at the moment I do think that it's starting to take its proper form. I believe we're looking at the front panel. So what I've done, I split for sleeves. It's looking kind of silly, but as you can tell, I have the front panel here. So as I was kind of talking about before, with the front panel, I was just working back and forth, flipping my work along the front panel section, and I think I've gotten it to really close to the height that I want it at. But I decided to start working on the back panel because I don't think I can properly estimate how tall the top needs to be until the back and front panels are relatively close to the same height. So if I can kind of like hold it up and show you guys, this is roughly how it would look as it's being worn. As you can see, I still have maybe a little bit more work to go, but I am still planning on this being like an off-the-shoulder top. So I don't want it to become too long or too baggy because you guys know I have that short torso. I don't think I need quite as much length as the average person does, but I think it looks so good, especially if the shirt isn't falling off too much. I love how like ruffly and slouchy and just kind of like very casual fit that it gives. getting really happy with this top. Like I said, I'm starting to hit that point where I can really envision the finished piece, and it's so close to how I was kind of imagining it from the beginning. So, and I feel very obligated to warn you guys, but I did have to frog this quite a few times. I think trying to figure out the proper amount of increases was a little bit of a challenge for me. At first I increased way too many times, and then the second time I thought I shortened it up a little bit and it was still much too wide. And then even as I finished working in the round and I split for sleeves, I was noticing that my front panel ended up being close to like, I think it was almost like 28 inches across. And again, that's just for the front panel. So in total circumference, it was much too large. So I did have to frog back the entire front panel a few times, but we made it, and I am kind of taking like proper notes for a possible pattern to come. Definitely proving a little bit difficult to kind of see the overall shape, but the armholes look really nice. So like romantic. Okay, so here's where I'm at with the top. As you can see, I am aiming again for that very like flowy, loose fit, because if I make this just long enough to reach my shoulders, then we're kind of losing all of this free form movement. To kind of make it a little bit more drapey, we'll have it look more like this. You see? This looks so good. And again, imagine this like little slouchy off-shoulder moment. Yes, I'm very happy with this one. Not me having just filmed this entire clip on my other camera, and it didn't really capture anything because it ran out of memory on the memory card. I think the very last thing I was catching you guys up on was kind of like my technique on how I'm working this top. So here on the front panel, I've worked all the way up until I feel like the front panel is completed. And then I attempted something new here with the neck hole. I kind of determined how many stitches I wanted for each shoulder section, and then just how wide I wanted my neck hole to be. I'm trying to factor in having it rest normally as a top, and then also having a little bit of like that off shoulder action, which you guys know is kind of like my favorite kind of top. So you can see both of like my shoulder sections right there and right there. And then after I finished working that, I pretty much just made a chain the same amount of stitches that I left off, connected it, and then from there I've just continued to work a few additional rows because I want kind of like to extend the front panel. And by doing this technique, hopefully it's going to push or like shift where the side seam is going to rest. So normally when you connect front and back panel, it's probably going to sit like right on top of your shoulders, like right at the base of your neck. But I feel like with a few of the tops that I've made in the past, having that seam right at the shoulders, like especially when your top or your blouse is a little bit oversized, as it drapes off of your shoulder, it looks a little bit funky with the side seam. Anyways, all of that to say, this is all connected to my front panel. So when I slide it up and over my head, here's how it rests right now. I think the neck hole opening is just wide enough. And then if I want to, you can see that it does kind of stretch to off shoulder. This looks so good. But now you can see those few rows here that have already started to like grow onto the back side. And then from here, I can go ahead and connect my back panel to the extended front panel. And hopefully by doing so, my shoulder seam has been shifted just a few inches backwards so that as I'm wearing the top, the seam is gonna rest more so at the back side instead of like right on top. I'm not sure if any of this is computing or if this is like a crazy lady technique that maybe like not a lot of people do, but I'm hoping that it pays off and it kind of gives me the effect that I'm looking for. But at this point, I think I'm ready to attach the back to the front. And then other than that, I think the top is ready to be worn. Like the last step is to weave in a few of the ends that I have. So right now I'm gonna take the extended front panel and align it with my back panel. And for those that are like kind of curious on how I'm doing this as well, because I worked, I think about 3 rows additional on the front panel, I did make sure to subtract 3 rows from my back panel so that all in all, The front and the back row counts are virtually the same. Really nothing major, but I'm hoping that like such a small technique can kind of give me a wonderful result. So we're just kind of testing the waters, trying something new. I don't know why I'm putting this off, because I literally just have to seam it and it's ready. I think this is the point where I have to face the consequences, good or bad, of my actions. But all in all, I think the overall look of this top, it's so like, I almost want to say dainty. It's very slouchy, but it's so chic, very feminine, very casual. But I feel like it can be very, very versatile, especially with like different colorways. Are we recording? Okay. Now, believe it or not, I did finish up the top. I really like doing these like first glance or like first try-ons together. Honestly, like if we have to do any tweaking, I will be rather sad because I was a little cocky. I did already weave in all of the ends that I had. So if I have to undo this, I might cry. But I gotta say, on its own, I think this piece looks immaculate. I think it looks so cute. You can already tell just kind of like the overall fit it's gonna have. Very drapey and slouchy, also kind of like oversized. And then we have this gorgeous, gorgeous ribbing, which I also love how this came out just like fresh off of the hook. You guys saw that I tried this top on a handful of times just to kind of figure out sizing and increases. And even though I have stretched this ribbed band to high heavens, I've taken it on and off and on and off probably like 5 or 6 times, it still really held its initial shape, which I think is probably due to the fact that I double stranded the ribbed area. Like you can see, she doesn't look stretched out, which thank God. I really love that little technique, which is something I haven't really attempted before either. I think when I went about making this piece, I was trying to think a little bit more in the head of like a knitter and knitting processes. So sometimes in knitting, you know, you will double strand the yarn to give it a little bit more support, a little more structure, and also like more stretchiness, which is kind of what I was trying to emulate with the crochet. So I will throw this on. Don't be alarmed. I do have a bra on. Okay. Pardon me as I try to not look super scandalous. Okay. Okay, I like what she's giving. It's kind of hard to see as I'm currently filming on my teeny tiny Insta360 camera, which is literally like 2 inches. So the screen, it's not giving much. It's actually rather pixelated, but I can kind of get, oh my God, the overall look. What are we thinking? Fresh on. Absolutely love this cinched in waist, and then you can see that it really kind of like sags out. I don't want to say sags, that sounds bad. It kind of like slouches out. It gets a little bit more baggy, more casual fit. So this is what the drape is looking like. And as you guys saw earlier, I did successfully finish up, I don't even know what to call it, but it's like the drop seam shoulder, where instead of having the seam rest completely at the center of my shoulders, like directly on top, I did shift that seam back just like a couple of inches to see if it would kind of change the overall drape. In the cases where you don't add on sleeves, you can really see kind of like an awkward seam that sits at the shoulder, and it doesn't really drape right. It doesn't really fall in the right direction. It's just kind of stiff. I'm thinking if anything, I might just spritz the top and then block it. I don't want to completely submerge the top just because I think the rest of this looks really, really good. Honestly, the more that I'm looking at this in the monitor, the more I'm slowly becoming obsessed, and I cannot wait to start the second version. Earlier this morning, I did dye up the yarn to start the long sleeve version of this top. Oh my God, guys, I'm loving this. The more and the more that I look at it, oh, it looks so good. Just a little bit of blocking here on the shoulders so that this is more relaxed. So we have kind of a boat neck, it's high neck, but more of like a crew neck, boat neck style. And if I were to kind of pull on this, please tell me I made this wide enough. Hello? Are we seeing this right now? I don't think I have to frog anything. It kind of just adds a little bit more to the slouchiness and the flowiness of the top. This looks immaculate. I love this so much. I was kind of playing around with this earlier before I put this on, and I thought this top would also look cute to use some string or like an I-cord and then cinch up the shoulders. So kind of like that, we're kind of gathering all the material at the top of the shoulder so that it's kind of bringing it closer together. This would look so darling as well. Guys, how did I do this? How did I pull this off? I don't know what's in the air this summer, but I feel like my skills have been becoming more refined over time, and I feel a little bit more confident each time I start a project to try something a little bit outside of my comfort zone, try something that I normally wouldn't. But each time I have been executing this, at least in my own opinion, I really love this. So I have to be heading out the door here soon in a second, but I have decided to also open up this top to the pattern testing process. So if you're interested in pattern testing this, there will also be a Google form for this down below in the description. Feel free to apply. I would call this, I would say honestly beginner, but to be on the safe side, let's say advanced beginner, like beginner plus. Yeah, and pretty soon here I can start working on the long sleeve version and also include that in the pattern, because I think this is going to become a staple top and like a staple blouse for fall. It has like a classic fit. The drape of it is just so elegant. I'm really, really proud of this. With that being said, I'm gonna sign off the video here. Check down below in the description for the Google form link, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.